Off we go. So, well, again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to our Zonta Says Now African European Intercontinental Think Tank. Uh, Please write in our chat where you are joining us from today. And my name is Karin Lange. Yes, and I'm happy to introduce today's session with my colleagues and our fabulous guests, Luba Maksymovych, Hadise Jafari, and Dr. Elizabeth Kostas-Polstan. Our topic today, Earth for All, how gender equal climate justice could stop wars and conflicts. Our talk will take us across continents, from Europe to the Middle East and to the United States of America. And it is with pleasure to hand it over to Carol Theobald, who is leading our Zonta International Zonta Says Now working group.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to cover some housekeeping. Please use the chat line to ask questions and make comments. Use welcoming and inclusive language. Ask short, succinct questions and answer questions or comments respectfully. Thank you. Our journey today is technically led by me in Perth, Australia, and I'll be hosting the session and monitoring the chat line with Julie Trone, who's not on the picture here. Our hosting team joins us from Africa, Asia, and Europe. Joan Kabayambi comes from Kampala, Uganda, and from Europe we welcome Pia Hultgren. She's on a sailing trip around the world, and she will be joining us very soon, from Lidingö in Sweden, and Karen Lange from Berlin in Germany, and Eric Alavia from Mumbai, India, may be joining us later. Together with Zontians from around the world, we're all working on Zonta International's campaign for gender equal climate justice, called Zonta Says Now. I'd like to hand over to Karen. Did you want to talk about?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, Zonta International is a global human rights organization in 64 countries that builds a better world for women and girls. We say yes to gender equality, no to violence against women, and now to gender equal climate action. But Zonta Says Now, we seek climate justice so women and girls can prevent, prepare for, respond to, and recover from the impacts of climate change on the same basis as men. We do this by advocating from the heart and by taking gender equal climate action locally and nationally and internationally. Our work is informed by Zonta's international statement on climate change and the Paris Agreement, the first legally binding treaty that recognizes the empowerment of women and girls as a critical factor in achieving a sustainable future. Today's journey is very much because of one topic that concerns us all. As Zontians, one of our central concerns is the targeted empowerment of women and girls and ensuring their equal participation in political and economic decision-making. I guess we all increasingly concerned about the pushback against women and girls and their human rights everywhere and amidst a worsening crisis. Today we will provide a brief introduction to a worrying topic, the relationship between military action, climate change, and the constant violation of human rights, particularly women's rights. We will then hear from two powerful voices, Luba Maksymovych, who will share her experience of living in a war zone, and Hadise Jafari, who will share her experience of fleeing a war. To provide a broader perspective, Dr. Elizabeth Kostas-Polstan will share insights into the role and situation of women in the armed forces in her presentation. And finally, we will discuss the question, is sustainability a path to peace? We turn it then to existing solutions and we will focus, of course, on their gender-specific perspective. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, global military spending rose by 9.4% in 2024. This is the steepest annual increase since the end of the Cold War, imagine. This display in the United Nations building shows the annual cost of war at $2.4 trillion in only 2023. This is $6.6 billion per day, a vast business for banks, investors, and industry, and a key driver of GDP, gross domestic product. The counter on this display is set to 0 at midnight and counts during the day. In 2024, the United Nations reported that the cost of war had risen to $7.4 billion a day. Imagine what we could have financed with this. Global military production and supply chain also are major sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Production is highly energy intensive, steel, cement, high-tech components, while warfare itself causes fires and infrastructure loss, adding significant CO2 emissions. Reconstruction after conflict further amplifies this carbon footprint. Evidence shows that excessive militarization can divert resources, increase emissions, and slow progress on climate and development goals. Every dollar spent in military production, use of arms, and reconstruction is a dollar not directly invested in sustainability or climate resilience. Military activities are estimated to produce about 5.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. This is roughly equivalent to the annual emissions of all the world's cars. With military spending rising by 9.4% in 2024, these emissions are expected to grow. Nations aren't required to report their military climate pollution under the Paris Agreement. Experts say that should change. The UNEP Emissions Gap Report 2025 warns the world is on track to pass 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming within years instead of decades, making the Paris targets slip out of reach and escalating the dangers of climate disruption. So today, we are talking about a risk multiplier. Climate change amplifies existing stresses, water and land scarcity, crop failures, food price spikes, and displacement, increasing the likelihood of conflict, especially in fragile settings. In 2024, around 676 million women and girls lived within 50 kilometers of a deadly conflict zone, the highest number in decades. Women bear the heaviest burden from both climate change and war. They are responsible for caregiving and for securing water, energy, and food, tasks made harder by environment degradation. Restrictions on education and mobility further limit their ability to adapt and build resilience. War, conflict, and climate change heighten gender-based violence and destroy livelihoods. Yet women and girls, among the first to be affected, are also key agents of resilience, peace, and recovery. That is why Zonta continues to call for the full implementation of UN Resolution 1325. In 2023, Zonta International signed an open letter urging the United Nations Security Council and member states to ensure the full, equal, and safe participation of women in all aspects of peace and security. This call remains as relevant and urgent as ever. And here is why.
We have a challenge currently because we are not seeing women at the peace table at the rate in which they should be. In 2024, on average, only 7% of women were negotiators and only 20% were signatories. So a lot more has to be done on that. Resolution 1325 is simply about equal rights for women and men as per the UN Charter, and as a result, the role that women can play equally with men in peace processes and ensuring that we have inclusive, peaceful, and sustainable societies. Since the resolution was adopted in 2000, we've seen those translated into now 115 national action plans on women, peace, and security. We've also seen that translated into hundreds of local action plans and state action plans. It's not only about something on paper. It's about having a safe place to live. It's about being at the table to shape what is going to happen in your community. It's about economic security. It's about all of these things. So investing in women peace builders is simply building and investing in long-term peace. I think one of the good things that we have seen is the uniform gender parity strategy and how that is enabling to have more women in peace support operations. Having women as part of these operations is so important in engaging communities, in ensuring that cultural sensitivities are taken into account. And we know that when women are involved and included meaningfully, fully, and safely in peace processes, peace outcomes last longer because WPS principles are at work. We're talking about ensuring that the root causes of conflict are addressed, and also ensuring that everyone is part of building a future that is sustainable for all generations.
How much the situation in Ukraine concerns us all, especially those of us in Europe. We are honored to welcome our Zonta sister, Luba Maksymovych, with more than 20 years of experience helping women from vulnerable groups across Ukraine. She heads the NGO Women's Perspectives. Since the full-scale invasion, her work has become more vital than ever. In February 2022, her team created a shelter for displaced people that still supports hundreds of women and children today. Dear Luba, a very warm welcome to you. Hope we can find her.
Hello.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful to hear your voice. We know that you, under the conditions of war, have problems with the electricity. So, well, that's one point. And as I said in the beginning, it's really hard to think about what's happening to you. I shouldn't do that because it makes me emotional. But how are you coping with this? With this war, which is taking such a huge toll on you every day. What are you experiencing right now? And what does that mean for all the Zonta members in your club?
Thank you so much. And I'm really appreciate to be here. And I really would like to say that if you ask me, I would like, if you ask me about the war, about the situation, what we have just now, and nobody can believe that it's the war never was before, because it's a really genocide of Ukrainian people. and especially Russia make a lot to bombing our town. They don't need our territory. They only need they kill 40 million Ukrainian people. And this is very, very important for us to have a support from the Zontians, from all of the world. The war is daily challenge, but we stay strong through the manual support and fight in Ukraine. For our Zontian Club, it means that even great solidarity, action, and care for us, for one other. We turn pain into the strength to help others to build a peaceful future. I would like to say that if we are talking about how it's important for climate protection and climate justice, I would like to say that the climate protection and climate justice. I'm sorry about my English today because I'm really I really have this very hard situation here. And if we are talking about climate protection and climate justice, measures are casual to every stage of the peace building. We help not only rebuild that was destroyed, but also create some it's impossible environment and ecology situation in Ukraine. I would like to say that we have a lot of men in our territory, and
Yes.
it could be very, very helpful just now to support Ukrainian to make like to took out the men.
To take out the mines.
Take out the men because just now a lot of women have a special learn classes to how to do it. You know, we have a lot of so many classes and so many courses for women how to do it. You know, because the women will help to make this mean out process, you know, and it's very bad for ecology in Ukraine, but
Yes.
I think so that we can do it. Just only I'm only arrived from Kiev. We had a big conference to talk about the resolution 1325. You know that we have a big information company in Ukraine about this, and we prepare a new national plan of 1325 in Ukraine. And
Luba, thank you. That's wonderful that you're pointing at that, because I learned that in September Ukraine launched this nationwide campaign. Is that correct? Communication campaign, which is called 1325 Changes the Country. And that's an important tool, I think, for raising public awareness of the issues addressed in this resolution. And so I wanted to ask you how relevant this is to you, and are you involved in that as well? And yes, that's what you are telling us now. Yeah, so go ahead, please. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. What steps do you think should Ukraine be taking to probably increase the number of women involved in the peace processes and decision-making roles in politics and in the economy, as we see that at the political levels, at the top positions, there are still only men, so or mostly. Does it change already? Do you see that? And what do you think has to be done there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a good question. And I would like to tell about that because I'm working on the gender issues about 25 years. and I came to look how is the changes just now. I would like to say that we have a lot of changes of the way of the women on the political level. Yes, if when we started to do our advocacy of gender issues, it was at 2% of women in our parliament. But just now we have a 21% women in parliament. And one of what I would like to say that I am really enjoyed is that the first time in our country, Premier Minister of Ukraine is woman, you know? Yes, it's a big success of our advocacy company in Ukraine. And I hope so that it could be a good big step for gender equality in Ukraine, of course. And one more.
Look at the public, the reactions here. Yeah.
Yes,
so that
yes,
really thrills us.
Thank you so much. It's a really good step. And I would like to say that just now we are working with to provide a lot of courses for women to teach them, like, no, it's like a man's specialty, you know, it's like a building, construction, and like a technical, like something working with drones, with machine, to be a driver of big car, you know. And this is like a new possibility to give a women a new specialty, like a man's specialty, you know, and to give them to have more salary, you know, for his job. It's a good point. And I'm really appreciate the women from Zontians to help us, and we would like to give you more information. As for me, it will be I will do everything for that I can send you information about women success in Ukraine, and I would like to ask to publish this information, to give this information to other people in other countries, that they don't forget about Ukraine, because it's Ukraine today is a country who are make everything that democracy will be in the world, not totalitarian. Not totalitarian.
Yes. So Ukraine becomes a driver because of strong women like you, I think, supporting always women and empowering them. And we should know that. And as you say, I think it's a concern for you that Ukraine is forgotten. Because wars are always forgotten if they are far away. I mean, for us, it's very close. People, I think, can't tackle the whole time with cruel things like that. But it's so important to pass this around. Thank you so much, Luba. Do so. The Zonta community should pass the stories around, should tell the people also in the parliaments to look at Ukraine, especially to push forward also a common process in Europe for this and globally. And what also I think is very important to know from you is it happens in your house. Your home is burning, but with your home, every house on the world is burning. So I think we should bear that in mind. It's not far away. It as you said, with the mines, with all the stuff, with the climate pollution, with everything, it hits us all. And well, thank you so much, Luba, for sharing your experiences. And after these powerful insights from Luba from Ukraine, we now want to broaden our view and listen to a young woman who has experienced displacement firsthand and turned it into strength. Hadise Jafari, born into an Afghan family in Iran, fled with her family from war to Turkey and then to Greece. At the age of 13, she fled alone to Luxembourg. Today, at 19, congratulations again. It was last week. She is about to graduate from school and is a committed advocate for human rights and women's empowerment. Her story is not only one of flight, but also one of courage, voice, and vision. Hadise, you experienced firsthand how war, displacement, and insecurity shape the lives of women and girls. Which experiences have stayed with you most strongly? Probably you can tell us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for hosting me and us. And okay.
Our
I'm getting,
pleasure, Hadise.
and also giving this opportunity because what's going on still, while I flee from it, but it's still going on in places like Ukraine or still going on in Middle East or Africa. So there are a few things that really stayed with me, and I'm gonna start strong. Was a threat of sexual violence and also sexual violence. In different countries, I've been to. I was born in Iran, and then because of my family fleeing from running away from war, so that's the reason I was born in Iran. Just a few months after my mom and dad got married, they flee from Afghanistan to Iran. So that's why I was born there. And as I said, sexual violence and harassment in different countries. It was in Iran as well as Turkey and Greece. So it's something that stayed with me till today. And also racism and discrimination. And but most of all, these are the things that happened to me during all years. I had the first time experiencing sexual violence. I was at the age of 7, and the second time was 5 years after that. It was at the age of 12 in Greece. And these are the things that happened to me. But after that, what's really at that moment, the feeling that I had, and which is still today I have, but today I turned it into a strength and a power, was feeling powerless as a woman, as a girl, of having no protection and having no, it's you feel that there is nothing that I can do, and that horrible feeling of powerless, it's just unbelievably so bad, because you hate yourself, and not because of your life and everything else, but also as a girl you hate yourself, that why am I a girl, why is this happening to me, why is this happening? Is it just because I'm a girl? And this itself, it can ruin everything. Aside of, okay, sometimes as a human being, we can feel like, oh, I'm not capable of things, me as a person. But feeling powerless just because you're a girl is another type of um, harm that you can do to yourself. And it's something that I personally believe that no woman and no girl should be going through it and have that. So yeah. You're muted.
Thank you so much for sharing this awful experiences with us, but it's that's so important. You once said that you don't feel comfortable with telling all those stories, but you have to tell it, because to spread it and to strengthen other women and girls. And I thank you so much for that. It really leaves us in awe, to be honest. Most people can hardly imagine what this means to flee, also to flee alone at the age of 13, And yeah, with all the experiences you had, what gave you this strength at that time? Were there people or moments that gave you, yeah, hope, that gave you a backup in a certain way?
Yeah. Well, for me, the thing is, this strength, it came from fear. It was just fear. I mean, the fear of what happened to me will happen again, and it will happen not as the same, and it will happen in a worse cases, and in a worse situations. That's what it gave me this strength, because when you fear something so much, that's what I felt. It was, I knew this is not something that I want. The fear that I had was bigger than the strength, and I had two fears. One was to be in that situation, and one was the next step that I had no idea how it was going to happen, what was going to happen to me. The fear of that was bigger than my fear of questioning what's going to happen to me, because I knew whatever it will happen, this is worst. And staying in that situation and hearing those threats of rape was way more, it made my body full of fear and shake than actually just running away from everything and fleeing to another country where I don't speak any language of it. To be honest with you, before coming to Luxembourg, I did not know where Luxembourg is. So that was really, I didn't know. And when I came to Luxembourg, no language, nothing. And no, I didn't know anyone. But again, the fear of what's going to happen, I know what's going to happen to me here. It was way more bigger than what's going to happen to me after, if I'll do whatever I can. And yeah, and also about hope. Hope, there is only one person who always gave me, who in that situation, honestly, there is no hope. I'm pretty sure Mrs. Um, Liba can agree with me on this, that in the moment of when nothing is going right and everything is horrible, it's, I mean, there is a hope within you that you know this is not right, but there is nothing as a hope that it's going to be, in my situation where it was uh, where it was for sexual violence, was another thing, but I'm pretty sure it goes the same for war, where you have a hope where everything will get better. But in my situation, that wasn't really the case, because I knew that's the end for me. And so, but from there and today, the only person who always gave me hope was my mom, because as much as difficult the situation was for me, it was also for my mom to let go of her 13 years old girl to another country that she doesn't even know anything about. It was really hard for her. And it's really, I believe, like, she is the reason I still have that hope and strength with me, because when I imagine it, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can, if you have any child, you can imagine how hard it can be for a woman to let go of her child, just because at least one of us, at least my daughter, would run away from this situation. And yeah, I mean, this is what I would say. And also my mom again, because she also not only taught me and raised me in a way to speak up, to stand up for myself and to speak up for myself, but also she did she did this, and she really taught me so well that today, where I'm not only doing this for myself, but I would like to do it for other women and other girls. and so for them at least to bring better, or at least a small chance where I know, wherever there is a small chance where I know I can make, with me standing up, a small bit part of a woman or a girl is going to change, I will definitely take that chance. So that's all in the background. That's all my mom who taught me, who pushed me to be in this way. So yeah.
Yes.
And
Oh, Hadise, thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, it makes perfectly clear that if you experience something like this, whether you're a child or a dad, no matter, but that shapes your life it's a lifelong. And it's also a traumatization you have to tackle with. It doesn't go away. But at the same time, I noticed how strong you reacted. Sometimes we were talking about it. I don't want to go in the details, but you strongly reacted, and you have got a very clear path forward, and you show that you are not available, though men did this to you. You were not available for yourself in a certain way, and this is really strong. And you powered yourself up. I think you also did that very actively with a therapist as well, and a female one. And just to let the audience know that this is not something that is just happening one day and then it leaves some time. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. It's so important, and it happens around the world every day, and especially in war, and especially under the situation of flight and in camps. And we know that from numbers. And this, and to give this numbers a face, Hadise, we are really grateful and in awe. You learned languages. You're so smart. I'm really impressed. And you learned languages. You went to school. You are going to achieve your, I don't know how is it called, baccalaureate. But you're studying at a high school now, and you want to you plan to study political science and pursue a political career. And I think that we are really keen on seeing you there as a diplomat, as a politician. Please go ahead. I just want to ask you a last question for that. What is your vision for a just and safe future for women and girls everywhere?
Well, for me, just to from the earlier questions, I just wanted to add this, that I'm not sure if any woman or any girls right now on this meeting has ever been through it, but it's just something I wanted to share with you as experience, is that because with Mrs. Karen, I've already talked about it, but the thing is, all the time we ask this question, and the first time when we see or when we meet someone who been through a situation like this, we tell them it's not your fault. And this is what I wanted to share with you, that that person, it's not, they're most of the time they're not blaming themselves, they're just hating themselves, hating the feeling of being powerless. They are not, maybe it's blaming themselves for why they didn't do anything, but it's not, oh my god, I dressed in a certain way, or I talked in a certain way, or why me. It's more of, why couldn't I do anything, why couldn't I speak up? And for me, if I want to describe what I felt, it was just like a dream where I was, in that moment, I was feeling like a dead body that has a soul. The soul is awake, but the body is dead. And after that, the feeling I had was it felt like my soul was taken from my own body, the body that belonged to me, and put it into another with force in another person's body where I did not belong, where I did not wanted that. So that's why I really stand strong on giving the power, like empowering women, and why I'm really standing on it again. Yeah. So this, I wanted to leave it there and just to give you a bit from inside. And to the next question, yes, I'm really interested to get into to study political science and to get into politics, because we still don't have that many women in politics, and we need women to speak up for one another. And because of my background, I really if I want to be in politics, and when I'm talking about women in politics, when I will be talking about women, about their horrible experiences that are going on, and not only in Europe, of course, my main focus is to make a better place because here in Europe we still have some voice. We are still not 50-50, still 48-49, but we are there. But in the countries where women have nothing, like Afghanistan, like Somalia, like Congo, like Yemen, yes. All these countries that it's a worse place for a woman to be in. So I already started to take steps, like to be here today. I always try to take small steps to award people to raise awareness all around in my community, in over the globe. And I am already doing this, and hopefully by the time I will get into politics, where I will sit in power, I hope, and I will do my best to be there for all those women, and at least create a safer place for all for women like Afghanistan, Yemen, Congo, Somalia, but also here in Luxembourg. Still here in Luxembourg, there is a huge rate of sexual violence going on. So still in Luxembourg, also Germany, because I know it's still high in Germany as well, and other countries, of course, that is still going on. It's still an issue, not only in third world countries, but still in second and first world countries as well. So that would be my goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hadise. Well, I think this leaves us all in awe. At the same time, it inspires us to fight together across generations for your vision. Thank you so much, Hadise. And we stay in touch, of course, with the Zonta Says No campaign and everything. And we will be connected for sure. So, well, it's hard to now to make a skip, but we are so proud and honored and delighted to welcome Elizabeth Kostas-Polstan among us. And before we begin our discussion with Luba, Hadise, and Elizabeth will spend the next minutes talking to us about what she refers to as the ecology of peace and her touch points: US female warfighter health, environmental resilience, and their global impact on women and girls in austere environments. Hadise already talked about this issue. And yes, Dr. Elizabeth Kostas-Polstan is an internationally recognized scholar and leader in the field of women's health, military medicine, and gender-responsive peace building. Her research focuses on female US warfighters operating in austere environments and addresses gender-specific urogenital and reproductive health challenges, as well as water, sanitation, and hygiene, shortly WASH, resilience. Her leadership extends across multiple international collaborations, contributing to UN-aligned initiatives defense, health, innovation, and sex integration policy. Her work has transformed the understanding of women's health as a strategic component of global security and sustainable peace. She regularly presents to international audiences, including defense, health, and women's leadership forums. Again, thank you for being here, dear Elizabeth. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Corinne and Carol. And thank you to all of you. I'm listening to Hadise, I'm listening to Lyubov, and I'm left speechless. All I can say is you're all exemplars of what resiliency looks like, and a term that's near and dear to my heart, which is grit. I am going to share my presentation as I talk about the topic that Corinne so kindly introduced me, and thank you for the very, very wonderful introduction. Let's see here. Okay, alrighty. So this is who I am. I am a nurse practitioner. I am a prior military officer in the United States military. And I also teach in the PhD program at the university I'm at. These are some very common disclaimers. I do work for the federal government, and nothing that I talk about today do I have any conflicts of interest to report. I do want to mention one thing, and I'm a researcher also, and so I do biological research, and I look at anything that has to do with women's health is my area, my scope of research and teaching and practice also. And I use the term sex to represent women and men, or females and males, excuse me. And I use sex as a biological variable in all of my research. This term, sex as a biological variable, comes from the National Institutes of Health, which is a international, United States international arena where research occurs from all over the world that informs our health ultimately. So throughout my presentation, you'll see me using the term females, and then I'll use the term women and girls when it's appropriate, mostly to civilian women. I do want to start off by saying thank you for the invitation to speak today. Until recently, I had not even heard of Zonta International, and it's been a pleasure learning about the organization's remarkable purpose, your history, and your symbolism. And I was especially moved by the origin, of the name Zonta, which came from the American Indian tribe, Sioux tribe, the Lakota. And the word Zonta means honest and trustworthy. And it beautifully reflects your organization's enduring commitment to integrity, trust, and unity and service, which is exampled today just by what we've heard thus far. Zonta International continues to embody these ideals, obviously, as evidenced today. And it continues to empower each of you and women around the world through service advocacy and professional fellowship. And it's truly an honor to be with you today to share this mission. So this is where I'm at. I live outside of Washington, D.C. in the United States. I teach at our federal government's 3rd Military Academy, which is our health science center. And we train our students to care for those in harm's way. And this is a picture of our university. And today's topic is the ecology of peace, female warfighter health, environmental resilience, and implications for women and girls. Environmental change and armed conflict are growing global challenges that often make each other worse. Collectively, they weaken communities, reduce access to basic resources, and threaten people's safety and well-being. In these difficult conditions, the specific health needs of females, especially those serving in military or peacekeeping roles, are not yet well understood. This presentation introduces the ecology of peace conceptual model a framework that links female warfighter and women's health, environmental management, and peace building as connected systems of resilience. Using findings from defense health research, field medical data, and sex and security policy studies, the model explores how environmental degradation, resource scarcity, and conflict affect the urogenital health of female warfighters working in harsh, low-resource settings. The findings show that limited access to water, clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, often referred to as WASH resources, and access to medical supplies and services increases health risk for female warfighters in austere environments. At the same time, females are not only affected by these challenges, they're also strong leaders. Across Africa and Europe, females play key roles in managing water, food, energy systems, helping their families and their communities survive, adapt, and rebuild after crises. By linking the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals number 3, 5, and 6 with the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda 1325, this presentation highlights an important, simple, but powerful message that across the globe, women and girls' health and leadership matters. Women are essential to security, community resilience, and sustainable development. And so during this presentation, we'll move from controlled military model to global parallels and then to pathways and policy. So although WASH insecurity is often invisible, its effects on the health of women and girls are profound and are far-reaching. In military settings, limited access to water and hygiene drives predictable urogenital infections that reduce duty availability and mission readiness. Globally, women and girls in marginalized communities face daily exposure to infection, malnutrition, and violence when forced to depend on unsafe or inaccessible sanitation. These outcomes are not matters of individual choice, but reflect structural, behavioral, and technological gaps that compound vulnerability. Collectively, these factors show that WASH insecurity is more than a health problem. It's an equity issue that erodes dignity, it restricts choice, and keeps women and girls trapped in ongoing disadvantage. Situating WASH within the broader climate justice agenda highlights its significance not only for women and girls' immediate well-being, but also for advancing resilience, human rights, and sustainable development. The Ecology of Peace model is a conceptual framework that I developed, and it illustrates how women's health, environmental management, and leadership interconnect as foundations for peace and resilience. It emphasizes that these domains are inseparable, particularly in fragile or resource-limited settings where conflict, scarcity, and environmental stress converge. The model demonstrates that empowering women in health and resource governance is not only equitable, but essential for sustainable security and development. At its core, the model comprises 3 interacting domains. Women's health, the first domain, is the biological and operational base for participation and leadership. It focuses on reproductive and urogenital health, WASH resources, and the impacts of stress and heat exposure. When female warfighters have access to healthcare and sanitation, they can maintain their military readiness, contribute to the mission effectively, and strengthen community resilience. The second domain is environmental management. This is the governance of vital resources such as water, food, energy, and sanitation systems. Women's involvement in resource management, especially in conflict zones, improves health outcomes and fosters cooperation across communities, creating the ecological conditions for peace. Peace building and security is the third domain. The inclusion of women in this domain in defense, diplomacy, and peace processes. Women leverage ecological and social knowledge to design fair resource sharing agreements that reduce tensions and promote lasting harmony. At the center of the model is resilience, or what I like to call grit, the shared ability of individuals and systems to adapt, recover, and sustain peace. This resilience manifests in three mutually reinforcing forms: health resilience, which is maintaining physical well-being under stress; ecological resilience, which is preserving essential life systems; and finally, social resilience, where we build trust, inclusion, and leadership. Together, these elements form a virtuous circle. Healthy women strengthen ecosystems and peace processes, while stable environments and secure societies protect women's health. The ecology of peace aligns with global frameworks from the UN Sustainable Development Goals 3, 5, and 6, and the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security, as well as defense, health, and humanitarian operation principles. These anchors connect women's empowerment to measurable progress in peace building and sustainability. Ultimately, the ecology of peace underscores a vital truth: that women's health and leadership are central, not secondary, to human security. By supporting women's well-being and agency, societies build stronger, more equitable, and more resilient pathways to lasting peace. The IBM WASH model demonstrates that water, sanitation, and hygiene insecurity arises not from a single cause, but from the complex interaction of contextual, psychosocial, and technological factors across every level of society. It links structural conditions, cultural norms, and the design and accessibility of WASH resources to show how health outcomes are shaped by systems, from national policies and community practices to individual behaviors and coping routines. Female warfighters serve as a critical lens for studying these dynamics. Operating in austere, resource-limited environments, female warfighters experience restrictions on WASH access. These conditions create a controlled setting where the effects of scarcity can be clearly observed, free from the many of the confounding factors presented in civilian life. Within these contexts, the military becomes a living laboratory, revealing how ration, water, improvised sanitation, and reduced hygiene priorities produce immediate sex-specific health risks. The coping mechanisms reported by women, female warfighters, such as delayed urination, taking white baths, intentional dehydration, reusing undergarments, or adopting unsafe health practices, mirror the experiences of women and girls in climate-stressed or water-scarce communities worldwide. In both cases, these strategies compromise safety, heighten the risk of infection, harassment, violence, and erode dignity and agency. The distinction lies in circumstance. One group, the female warfighter, endures these burdens in service to their nation. The other, women and girls across the globe, in their struggle for survival under environmental stress. Yet together, their experiences expose a shared reality. WASH insecurity is not a minor inconvenience, but a profound crisis of health, equity, and human dignity. The controlled military environment allows researchers such as myself to isolate the health effects of WASH scarcity. Because operational conditions are standardized and well documented, we can better understand how limited water and sanitation access directly affects female warfighter health, insights that can inform women and girls and civilian and humanitarian responses worldwide. Female warfighters provide a unique lens to study WASH insecurity in controlled, austere environments. Guided by the IBM WASH framework, my team's research shows that contextual factors such as policies, living conditions, and military training tempo, psychosocial factors such as norms, roles, and coping behaviors, and technological factors such as shared facilities, hygiene kits, personal supplies, these factors interact to shape health outcomes. In our research of 751 female warfighters, more than 76 reported at least one urogenital infection during their service, with delayed urination and intentional dehydration significantly elevating the risk of urinary tract infections. Coping strategies such as white baths, delayed urination, and reusing supplies created predictable health risks, including urinary tract infections, bacterial vaginosis, and vulvovaginal candidiasis, that not only caused discomfort, but also threatened military training, deployability, and overall operational readiness. These findings highlight that WASH insecurity is not a matter of individual choice, but reflects structural, behavioral, and technological gaps. The framework helps us move beyond blaming poor hygiene, personal hygiene, and instead examine systems, design, and policy. Female warfighters themselves identified solutions to the problem, such as self-care kits and urinary diversion devices, emphasizing the need for tools designed specifically for them, tailored for them, rather than the makeshift workarounds. This quote is not about individual discomfort. We need tools designed for us, not workarounds. It is evidence of design system built without accounting for female warfighter operational needs. The same pattern of structural exclusion appears globally, where WASH systems often reflect male-centered assumptions. Participant insights in our studies highlight both a gap and an opportunity for targeted, personalized interventions. The experience of female warfighters and women and girls in climate-stressed communities reveal a shared burden of WASH inequity, marked by infections, reduced dignity, and constrained agency. Military austerity mirrors global struggles, where sex, income, and displacement magnify vulnerabilities. These parallels underscore that WASH insecurity is not a minor inconvenience, but a systemic equity challenge. Addressing it as a core issue of health, equity, and climate justice is essential for effective policy action. It is important to note that here I am translating insights, not generalizing U.S. female warfighter experience to all contexts. Advancing global climate justice requires a multi-pillar approach that integrates inclusive sex and age disaggregated data, co-produced knowledge through the engagement of women and girls, and equitable leadership by elevating women and girls in climate governance. Importantly, science diplomacy must be practiced in ways that are both ethical and inclusive. Policy levers, therefore, are both practical and future-oriented, what is presented here in this table. They offer concrete steps to embed equity, innovation, and women's and girls' rights-based approaches into climate action. Each lever connects directly to the findings that I've shared up this far. The first one is to align obligations. This draws from the evidence showing that women's health under WASH austerity directly affects operational readiness and security outcomes. Linking climate, human rights, and defense frameworks ensures that gendered health needs are recognized as core security priorities, not secondary concerns. The second lever, measure with what matters. Throughout the data, we saw the consequences of not collecting or analyzing sex disaggregated evidence. Without clear comparable metrics, women's health outcomes remain invisible. This lever calls for integrated data systems that make sex-specific health risk visible and measurable across all sectors. The third lever is investing in women and girls. Across Africa and Europe, we see that women play vital leadership roles in managing water, food, and energy systems. Investing in their leadership, particularly at the local level, enhances resilience, governance, and peace-building capacity. This lever moves from recognition to resourcing. And finally, the fourth lever, institutionalize evidence. Earlier findings emphasize the need for research to policy pipelines. Embedding sex health and WASH evidence into training doctrine and infrastructure ensures long-term change. This lever makes evidence, translation, an institutional norm rather than a one-time initiative. Peace and security are only sustainable when women's health, leadership, and access to essential resources are central to policy and practice. Aligning systems at every level, local, national, and global, is how we build enduring resilience and peace. From the battlefield to climate-stressed villages, female warfighters and women and girls face preventable health risk when water, sanitation, and hygiene are out of reach. The lesson is clear. Safeguarding the health of females requires more than technical fixes. It demands justice-centered solutions led by women themselves. Science diplomacy gives us the tools to act, ensuring equity and resilience are at the heart of climate policy. We must align global and local systems so that women's health and leadership drive sustainable peace. Military WASH austerity offers a controlled model to understand systemic risks. Evidence from female warfighters reveals design, policy, and cultural gaps that also affect women and girls globally. Science diplomacy and sex-responsive policy can embed equity at the heart of climate and security challenges. And finally, I'll share with you that if we can safeguard female health under the harshest military conditions, we can and must do so in every community facing environmental stress and conflict. We are living shared burdens and shared realities. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. This was really awesome and certainly gives us food for thought. I love your resilience grid and the virtuous circle. And yeah, it also shows us a little bit how important it is that women are in leadership roles and how important the implementation of Resolution 1325 is. And the fact that the needs of women in the military are still not widely recognized, that's also what we learned. And at the same time, you showed an interesting pathway for peace building through connecting the dots in between the needs of female warfighters and the needs of women and girls in civil society. And now we are very excited about the discussion. But before we begin, we will hear from the audience. We have prepared a short poll for this purpose. And yes, so let's do that. Which factor do you think is most critical for building peace in conflict-affected regions? Is it women's leadership in decision-making, sustainable management of resources, access to education and livelihoods, international cooperation and diplomacy? Well, yeah. So Karen, I think, will tell us about the results.
So we have women's leadership and decision making as being the top answer, with nearly 3/4 of the respondents answering that.
Wow. Yeah, as Elizabeth mentioned, there are wonderful solutions if it comes to this, like the Agenda 2030. She mentioned several sustainable development goals. And yeah, the good news is that there are solutions. And in Earth for All, the international renowned Club of Rome scientifically demonstrates that well-being for all on a stable planet is possible. Drawing on the 9 planetary boundaries identified by scientist Johann Rockström and the concept of donut economy proposed by economist Kate Raworth, they set out 5 key changes that must be made. Putting on an end to poverty, tackling cross inequality, and in the midst, empowering women, ensuring a healthy food system, and transitioning to clean energy. And we listened to a lot of aspects also in Elizabeth's lecture, which correspondent with this. The Club of Rome's call for balanced growth within planetary boundaries has strongly influenced global policy debates. These priorities have now been echoed and taken forward in the United Nations Pact for the Future, adopted by all member states in September 2024. The United Pact for the Future was developed based on extensive contributions from civil society and, of course, academics, science, and youth networks. And it turns these ideas into a shared political commitment to accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. The reason why? Boosting the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and delivering its 17 Sustainable Development Goals is crucial to achieving climate goals and establishing lasting peace. The Pact for the Future strengthens the global commitment to the Paris Agreement and the Agenda 2030, recognizing them as interlinked roadmaps for a stable and livable planet. Peace, equality, and sustainability are inseparable. Without social justice and gender equality, there can be no lasting climate security. The pact calls for reform of the global financial architecture to unlock resources beyond GDP, gross domestic product, and redirect investments towards people and the planet. The goal is to boost implementation. It's not about inventing new goals. The goal is to bridge the gap between promises and action. Doesn't this offer us a ready-made framework for advocacy, connecting gender equality, climate justice, and sustainable peace under one shared vision? So with this, I want to turn it to our talk. Is sustainability a pathway to peace, and how could this work? And Elizabeth, with your experience at the intersection of health and military readiness, how can stronger female leadership in military open new opportunities, especially in times of climate change and conflict?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. That's a very interesting question. I will say that regardless of what country you live in, it's a man's world. So when we look at the military, even the United States military, the bulk of the military are males, made up of males. As a matter of fact, less than 20% of the active duty force of the United States military are female. And so when one is not of the biological sex of the minority, it does things that are tailored to, for example, sex-specific health issues are not necessarily at the forefront of their mind if they're a male. So female leadership is critical. I think the old adage, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, is very real, always. And I think it's probably ubiquitous, meaning everywhere. It is very important that no matter what a woman is doing, no matter where she's at in her life, that she has a voice. And we can have voices in different ways. We can have a formal leadership position, or we may have an informal leadership position. Definitely the voice is important. So it's important to strategize and think strategically and out of the box as to the impact that a woman can make. But leadership is critical. Whether you are in the leadership position or you're advising a male who's a leader, that's still important because you're getting that perspective to that person. So what I would say is that leadership is critical to sustainability, but given the world we live in, I think that we as women need to think about what leadership looks like outside of the box. We don't have to
Mhm.
necessarily be that individual who has that title that is looked at as the leader. So again, you can be the voice that's consulting with or providing information to that leader in a formal or informal capacity. But it is very important to share our views as women and to be a champion of our needs so that the males in the room or at the table are not thinking just very male-centric thoughts. And many of them are not doing it intentionally. Many of them just aren't aware of it because of their biology. They don't think about it. But many of them have wives and daughters and mothers. They all have a mother. And so oftentimes when you approach them from that perspective, you're able to, I don't know about influence, but inform change. So yes, Karen.
Yeah, these are very fantastic points. Also to think outside of the box is very important. Of course, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. Yeah, it's correct. And so important to empower that. And with this, I turn it to Luba because she really knows as well how to empower women. And I'd like to ask her, as Elizabeth mentioned, in order to achieve sustainability, it's so important to have the women on the table. And I just wanted to ask you how you see that the leadership of women in Ukraine you talked about. How is that probably related also to climate protection, climate justice measures throughout the process of peace, from ceasefire to reconstruction? How important is that the women come here in, as we probably all know that they mostly think more on the community levels. Yeah, Luba, please share your opinion and thoughts.
You asked me about this question is very, very important, and I think that we need to have more attention for understanding what is understanding what cases of the war, what we can how we can have influence of the for the situation in in a climate situation. And I would like to say that this perspective always has to connect a security, environmental and gender dimension, which is particularly relevant for Ukraine in the process of the reconstruction. It's as for me. I don't know if I am telling you correct, but I would like to tell that we need to tell about security, ecologies, and gender equality. It's everything is the same. We cannot tell about the climate situation without gender equality, you know. And just now it's like, as for me, it's a little bit difficult to say in English, but I would like to say that just now I really appreciate Elizabeth about your presentation, because we have very a lot of innovation in our army of the women. 70,000 women now in the war, you know, the 70,000. And when this war was started, we have nothing with gender equality, gender issues in military, you know. And just now we have a lot of changes. We have some the special changes, the law in the women in military. We have the women who have a higher position on the military level. just now, but it was a challenge for Ukraine. But now we have a big step straight ahead of the gender equality in our army. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I tell you correct. Karin, can you explain what I would like to say?
No, it's fantastic. Perfect. It explains it perfect. I think you also refer to, of course, the reconstruction and things like that, but you already told about the impacts of the war right now, the destruction, things like that. And of course, I think that, as you said, we have to really empower women in leadership also to lead processes in managing resources like water, energy, things like that. You told us that they are already going more in STEM, and it's so important to know that how this changed during the war also. When you told us about the 70,000 women warfarers, that's a very interesting point, that also the military in Ukraine had to change for this, and bear in mind that women have different needs. So
yes.
Yeah.
And just now we are talking more and more about the different needs in the army, and we provide some changes. We change the clothes for women, especially for women. We change some possibility to be comfortable for women who are in the war. And everything we are doing just now, it's a lot of women's organization, and special. We create a few organization we have more and more women's organizations who are supported by women veterans or women in army. You know, we are talking about the challenges what we have already, and we try to do changes everything. It's a really, we have a big problem, but we have a lot of possibility just now to make so first changes, you know, in the gender to help to decide gender issues, especially for women in the army. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good point sometime, you know, because we so quickly to make some of these changes in the management way, in the possibility for adaptation of women in the military, you know, and to give them more power on the decision making in military. It's a good point just now.
Yes.
No, I don't hear.
Do you think that's a question for all, that we should advocate for around the world, also to motivate politicians and diplomats all over the world to go for those things? Because you really explained us how everything is connected, and the experiences from war in Ukraine make that even sharper, how everything is connected: climate, war, and the situation of women. And this is really relevant for the future of the whole planet, as we saw also with with Earth for All. And I think, well, we should probably, that's a question we should probably also ask. Lots of things are economic questions behind that. As you mentioned, they're missing out the women on the table. They are still the meal, yeah. And I think we should go in on the tables, and we should push forward that they change this architecture, so that we think about financing also clean energy, access to education, access to health. All these things, they should brought into the GDP and through the gross domestic product, to be a rule that you have to invest broadly, yeah, in all those things. So yeah, well, I turn it now. There are only 3 minutes left. And Hadise, you didn't have the opportunity to say anything. So I think it's your generation we are fighting for, and so I want to know from you, from your own experience, what should policymakers and civil society do, yeah, to create a better future for your and the next generations? You have the word.
I'm gonna keep it short. We don't have a lot of time. It's my turn, or Mrs. Lyubov will
It's
start.
a question for Hadise or for me?
No, for Hadise, yeah, the question. No,
All
yeah.
right.
Okay, did I confuse you? I'm sorry. No, it's for Hadise because yeah, so we are running out of time, and I just wanted to listen to her for
Okay,
her
we have
future
2 minutes.
perspectives.
I'm gonna keep it short. Well, for me, in my opinion, it would be education. Education can change a lot, and I'm pretty sure we all can agree on this. It's really general, but it can really go deep in it. But I'm not gonna go deep in it because we don't have enough of time. But also, I mean, healthcare, environment work, all these are important, but I think education can change a lot. For example, in a third world country like Afghanistan, education is so important because women and girls are suffering because of all the problem they're going through. They need understanding, they need people to understand in the society, and they don't have that. And something that scares me a lot, it's Taliban, and also the society, the understanding that the society has, which is really low. But again, this fear that I have for that, but at the same time I have a lot of hope for Afghan for women, because I know like all women are brave. I mean, there is, I think, the most and the best creature in the world is woman, because I mean, starting from creating another soul in their body, that's, I mean, incredible. So I believe that the women are the hope. And yeah, I'm gonna cut it there and just say that education, it's so much important. And I think here in Europe, thank God that we have thankfully we have access to education. Everyone has access to education, but this should go way more and reach other continents as well, and other regions. For example, regions like the crisis regions, where people are at the same time stuck in the with all the problems and of the war and of everything, all the problems going on there, which gives them, unfortunately, keeps them behind of the lack of education. And also, of course, economical, that's another issue. But yeah, that would be my answer. Thank you.
Hadise, thank you so much. And Cheryl Scott in the chat added, of course, that's also important to protect women against violence in all these environments. That's for sure. That's what you also said. And do we have a little bit time for last word of Elizabeth and of Luba? I ask around so that we probably have 4 minutes, 3, 4 minutes more. I would hear from them. What is your greatest wish to push forward the Agenda 2030, which is really crucial and key for lasting peace? Yeah, so I start with Elizabeth first and then with Luba.
Yes. Your question, Karen, is what is I'm sorry, I didn't catch the whole question.
What is your wish for the future? If it comes to Agenda 2030, what is your vision, how we can really implement this, and what can we do as NGO, yeah, to do so?
Yes. Well, I think we need women in as many positions of leadership as possible. I think we need to infuse. Already in the United States, we're seeing that our professional universities there are more women getting formal educations than males, more females. And I hope that in the near future we one day have a qualified female president. and at all levels of leadership. I think women bring a different, a unique perspective that inherent in their perspective, all women, is this notion of peace and security.
Thank you so much for these strong words. And with this, I'd like to turn it to Luba. Yes, what can we do, especially also with the background of your experience, Luba?
It's my
Please have the last word.
experience. Thank you very much. It's my experience that we need to create more and more women's organizations, especially women's human rights organization, especially in the small town, in community, to give them more power, more understanding that we need to be on the decision making, mostly women, and this is we need to create a more and more education program special for women leadership. Then I think that it will be better to have more international networks of women experience and to change our knowledge, our experience, because if I am looking that we need, it's more important for women understand that if we make some decision, it will be gender equality. We need to look for our every challenge what we have in our world, of the men side and women's side. The special is the peace building. And just now we have the problems and we have a peace building, some negotiation, and not so many women took part in Ukrainian delegation to speak about peace building, peace building, And as for me, it's very, very important just now to have more stronger network, and women need to support women. What the Madeleine Albright told about, about every women need to support women, And
Yes.
I don't know how to say in English. I know in Ukrainian, her like words that in I'm sorry, that if some women don't support women, they will be not in the but they will be in peklo. No, just a moment. I forgot about that, but it's very important.
Luba, just say it in Ukraine. We love to listen to that. And I think by heart we are going to understand what you mean.
Якщо жінка не підтримує іншу жінку, для неї є місце в пеклі, не в раю. If she will die, she will be not going to Rai. Rai, it's like just a moment, 1 second. It's a very important. It's a very Madeleine Albright. He told about this, that it was her. I don't. Maybe somebody remembers that. I will write in the chat. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So do so. And in the meantime, let me thank you all of your fantastic speakers today. That is really amazing, and it's really pushing us forward. Yeah, it was so inspiring. Thank you for your sharing your powerful insights, Elizabeth, Luba, and Hadise, and thank you also to everyone who joined us from around the world. Your engagement reminds us that peace, gender equality, and sustainability are global responsibilities and shared hopes. And we look forward to seeing you again at our next Intercontinental think tank, probably, which will take place 11th of January. So look at the Zonta International events page, will be very interesting. And before we close, I'd like to hand it over to Carol for a mutual goodbye. So please unmute yourself and give us your biggest smile for a last screenshot.
Thank you. Wave.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Australia.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.